How long does their friendship survive this interview?
Where essentially did you go wrong?
Where did I go wrong?
Because you've had time to reflect now.
Yeah, I said this on a previous episode. I thought I was about 75% to 80% good to get married. And then I thought the remaining 20 to 25% was not major things, was small things that through the course of marriage, we would work through. Because we had a lifetime and because we loved each other and because we had a good framework, I thought, for working together. So if I was to do it over now, I would move from 75 to 110%. I would try to overshoot any metrics that I had of readiness for marriage. And I would not make that determination on my own. I would get other people to help me make that determination.
But can you only know that or do that second time around? Is that realistically ever going to happen the first time around? Say I need to be 110% ready. Or is that only going to come, is that maybe that's really good advice that people need to hear?
Yeah.
You think you should be that?
The advice I would give people is...
We can also lie to ourselves about our assessment of the numbers too, right?
100%. So it's a crapshoot. In retrospect, I'm gentle with myself because I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't. So, and at my worst days and for many years and many moments, I haven't been gentle with myself because I caused a lot of harm.
So now that, since I'm asking you all the tough questions, were you too quick with him getting married to him? Was there more digging and assessment and stuff that should have happened that maybe would have helped reveal some of these issues on the front end? What were you just so?
It's tough.
I know he's like.
I mean,
a heartbreaker.
Here's the thing. So Samuel is the same person. Like Samuel is, he's kind, he's witty. He's
you mean now as before?
Yeah, he's he's got a great personality. He's likable, all that stuff. Like he's the same core person.
Likable or lovable?
Lovable and likable, right? He's the same core person, and
is that a good thing?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And not that he hasn't grown and learned and so on and evolved for sure and healed, but he's the same core person, right? He's got a great personality. He's cool, chill, and all that stuff, funny, and a dreamer and all the things, right? But it doesn't matter when someone hurts you who's great. Because all you want to hold on to and all that you have in that moment is the fact that they hurt you and you don't want to be hurt again. That's what you've got. You don't want to be hurt again. And so what do? You try to protect yourself as best as possible. For me, that was letting go, walking away from the marriage and so on, right? Now, going into marriage, I thought I was getting the whole picture. Silly me. I thought I was getting the full truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. That wasn't the case, as I found out later. If I had gotten the full truth and thought that I was getting into the marriage with the person I thought I was getting into the marriage with, then I wouldn't have any issues.
Is that because of him intentionally withholding things, or you not?
I think
digging for enough, or.
Ooh, no. Definitely not me digging. I asked all the questions.
Well, you said you're silly.
The questions.
You said silly.
Because I thought I was getting all the answers.
Okay.
And so I'm somewhat honest. Like some people will say blunt. Sometimes I'm direct and blunt. But I really do pride myself on being honest. So I'm going to tell you the truth. And so what I do is I expect that from other people. I expect that people are going to tell me the truth.
It's on Do Not Disturb.
No worries.
When your wife calls multiple times.
You got the iPhone feature.
The Do Not Disturb, yeah.
Shout out to Karen. When you expect people to tell you the truth and they don't tell you the truth, that's very it's mind-boggling. It's disorienting because you're like, wait, I don't understand why you're lying. So what? So now what do I believe? I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know how, to reconcile that. When I think about the time that we spent having conversations, like talking, asking and answering questions, Samuel would send me a question. I would send Samuel a question. We'd be like online all day. My goodness, it's probably That's probably why I got laid off. Online all day, typing questions back and forth. Like, you ask this, you ask this. What about your vision? What about your purpose? What's this and that? Like, all the questions were asked and answered, but not fully. So if I thought I was getting the full truth and I didn't get the full truth, then I'm going to base my decision to move forward on the answers that I have. And that's what I did. So I don't think it would have been different. I think if we had longer time, if he didn't work through his stuff in that period of time, then it could have gone on. I mean, it could have been from now till whenever. If he didn't want to tell me, then he didn't want to tell me.
It seems to me like more information isn't ultimately helpful if someone's withholding something. Because I remember when he was getting all these detailed questions about, Genevieve wants a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. I said, bro, I've never had any of these conversations with my wife to this day.
All the answers,
right? And I was like, man, that's rigorous. And no, I really thought that. Like, I can't do that. Like, that would annoy me, right? Like, But that even goes to show you can be rigorous,
right?
Really rigorous, and but if something can still be missing if something's being withheld, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And all that rigorousness is very lofty and theoretical. It's all in the air. It's all in the air. It's like, these are the things that I dream of and that I want and that I imagine and that I envision. Yay. Wonderful. When ish hits the fan on the ground on a Monday and you're pissing me off, what do I say and do? How do I react? Like, am I that, gentle start, it's going to be okay? No. I'm going to be like, bro, you better find yourself somewhere. But that attitude comes out, and then that affects the climate. It affects the culture of the relationship, right? So we have to be mindful of, like, real life.
Something I thought at the time was that you shouldn't be totally honest. Like, there's some things that should be withheld,
which I didn't know,
because they're going to hurt the other person. Which is, I'm not the only human who thinks that, who has ever thought that, but I thought that.
I've heard that before in counseling contexts.
Yeah, so.
And I was the exact opposite. I was like, tell all the things, tell the truth, even if it hurts.
Yeah, but there's also a question of details and certain things like, and that is a conversation that people land on differently, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to.
I just didn't know. I found out later on. I found
her paradigm was that people just are blunt and are honest, and they say everything and they share everything 100%.
Yeah,
my paradigm was,
she found out later about current things, we're not just talking about like what's your past.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. Like my style
Both.
again, my style at that time.
Was it both?
Both.
Okay, that raises the question in marital preparation, like, how deep are you supposed to go? Are you supposed to tell the person you're going to be marrying, were your parents divorced? Were you abused as a child? If so, by who? If so, when? For how long?
Did you go to therapy?
Gender?
Yes.
Yeah, how were you dealt with it?
Come on.
Like, how?
All of it. Yes.
Right?
I'm a yes on all of it.
I didn't do any of that, right?
Do you wish you had?
It's just that would have to be a different conversation. I mean, no, because we ended up the quick marriage I had led to my first daughter being born as fast as she could, and nothing. I could never have any regret about the date at which my daughter came into the world, and so to me it was the right. Yeah, you remember this? I mean, he helped. He helped facilitate my first date with my wife.
Yes.
In a November, we got. I proposed on December 31st, and we were married February 28th, right? And then my daughter was born the following December, which I think that gives it enough time, right?
You think so?
She was 2 weeks.
You
late,
think so? Let's put you on the hot seat now.
Yeah, it does.
How did the number? It's a mathing of a number.
2 or 3 weeks after our so. I'll talk about that another day when
Karen's here. Shout out to Karen. Okay.
Hi, Karen.
Can we turn it to our studio audience?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, or?
I think that's a great. You have a studio audience.
We do have a studio audience. We got the tribe in the house. We always got the tribe out. We have the best group of supporters, y'all. It's not even a joke. Goodness.
So here's what we'll do for mic purposes. If you all have a question, you can say it. We'll take about 3 questions, and then you'll repeat the question, and then we'll answer it.
Okay.
Cool?
Sounds good.
Yeah, because they're like, we're not mic ready. We're not camera ready.
Was the root cause of what led to his issue occurring before he got married? That was the question?
Before the relationship, I guess, yeah.
Before the relationship, the root cause.
So I've shared on previous episodes that I was struggling with addiction during our marriage, right? Which led to a lot of erratic and harmful behavior.
What kind of addiction? Drug addiction?
I've never specified that. I haven't shared that.
Okay.
So yeah, I was struggling with addiction. I didn't think I was struggling with addiction. I only found out that I was struggling with addiction when we were going through the process of separation, and I was trying to understand why I was behaving the way that I was behaving, and looking back, now I had a year of data, right? And to be fair and to be honest, like our first year of marriage was super hard. But I was coping in ways that were addictive, and whereas before marriage, life wasn't as hard, quote unquote. So I wasn't engaging in the same harmful behaviors. I wasn't perfect, but I had enough data, and I talked to enough people who thought I was healthy enough to step into marriage.
But isn't there a sense then in which you were not being deceitful if you weren't aware of your addiction until separation? Because we seemed to say earlier that you were sort of withholding something, but it seems that you just were unaware of it. And that raises questions when you marry someone who's ignorant of a addiction and you find out afterwards. How do you cope and sympathize and work through that, right?
Which is very real. Like there's a lot, like Genevieve had to go through a lot as we've established. But no, I didn't. When I was on my wedding day, when I said my vows, I didn't think that I was struggling with addiction. I didn't have that. Yeah, and neither did anybody who I was honest with. Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe I'll jump in here only because during the course of our dating and courtship, I did ask specific questions about like past experiences, and part of it was because of my knowledge of how my family of origin experiences and growing up impacted my behavioral choices, impacted like my feelings, and even how I just decided to do life. So in asking questions, I was like, hey, so what has happened with you? I didn't only ask you. I asked your siblings. I asked your parents. I know, right? I asked, and I didn't get the full picture from anybody. And whether that was like protective
that's the question I wanted to know.
Or what have you. Well, I'm not going to stipulate and guess for anybody's reasons, but what I didn't get was the full picture from anybody. I know that for sure. And I didn't get that until after we got separated. And people were like, oh, well, wait, hold on. And I was like, wait, you hold on. Right? Because I asked you. And I have receipts. Like I have documentation. I take notes. Right? I'm like, wait a minute, but I asked you direct questions.
Yeah.
And I wasn't told the truth. And so that's part of where my anger was like, well, I mean, you guys didn't even give me like the right things to deal with. You didn't give me the right information.
Is that
I could have handled it, right?
Is that true that you lied in like premarital diagnostic questioning?
I would say no. There was one significant like event that happened and situation that happened that I said nothing about, right? So from my perspective, everything that I was asked, I was honest about.
She said she has receipts.
Yeah. So looking back, how I feel, my best guess now is that there was some misunderstandings. Like she asked questions, and I thought I was asking honestly, and maybe
answering honestly.
Excuse me, I thought I was answering honestly.
Yeah.
But maybe, what she was asking was different than what I was answering, right? But I genuinely did my best to answer honestly. But there was something significant that I left out that would have likely opened her eyes and to her point, given her perspective and context, to perhaps make a different decision or plan differently or prepare differently, etc.
Yes. And I want to make note because you're talking about root causes. And so there's a lot that happened in the marriage, that unfolded in the marriage, that didn't start in the marriage or didn't start when we met each other. That started a long ways before. Right? And I like the way you explained it, in a previous conversation we had where you identified that childhood trauma can predispose us to using addictive behavior or substances to self-soothe, right? And then we are more likely then to fall into ongoing addiction, disruptive, destructive addiction that interrupts our ability to do relationships well. So I think, well, in terms of when we're talking about like root causes, nothing starts like in the moment. Nothing like
Right.
it doesn't just appear from out of nowhere, right? And I think that has to be that has to be said.
Are we going to go back to the studio audience?
Who has a question?
My question was for Sam. In hindsight, so you mentioned that, you feel that you can't necessarily maybe answer all questions that are given to you. And Jen said that you think that all questions should be answered candidly. In hindsight, whether it hurts or does not hurt, if it makes you look bad or not look bad, do you now think that all questions should be answered candidly, no matter what it is? Before marriage. Before marriage.
So should all questions be answered candidly before marriage, even if, I guess, it could lead to a deal breaker?
I want to say a conditional yes. And why I say a conditional yes? The answer is yes, right? That's a simple answer. But the conditional is how much detail do you reveal?
Yeah.
There could be a point where the amount of detail that you reveal could cause harm.
Of course.
And I'm saying that, like, I would lean now towards tell them the detail. It doesn't matter what harm it causes. Just err on the side of telling them. That's how I would lean based on my experience. But people who I trust and respect, who are smarter than me, who have studied this, and some of them believe that there should be a limit to how much detail you share with partners about certain things.
And if you err on the side of transparency in detail, there's always the other person possibly saying, okay, that's enough detail. And they'll say, they tell you. So at least you know then you've done your best to be transparent and it was their wish for you to stop.
Right. And I think that's such a good point because we have to trust people and trust that they can set limits for themselves. Like, I think in being open to share, and I agree, like, every detail is not necessary. But my definition of detail and your definition of detail,
That's another thing.
it might be,
Very different.
Very
Worlds apart.
different.
So
who gets to define details?
here's an example of something that actually happened in our marriage that would like push against the part of me now which says err on the side of detail. And this is me being super vulnerable and transparent. So when we had a conversation about whose church should we go to, my church or her church, right? And transparently, I thought her church was not a fit, and she thought my church was not a fit. One of the reasons she thought my church wasn't a fit is because there was somebody I had had a previous relationship with, right? Before her and I had gotten together. You said something along the lines of like I don't want to go there and look up at her like every day, right? Especially if we're not engaged. But like that was one of the many factors that we discussed. But looking back, one of the things that I would have insisted upon more, one of the things I would have pushed for more strongly was that we spend more time at my church at the time. I think the way that they approached things like premarital counseling was more in depth than the way that your church approached things like premarital counseling. Like
Your
looking
church
back,
has like a whole workbook or something, don't they?
yeah, they had like a textbook that had been used, internationally and things like that, right? So
Wait, what was I missed that?
what did you
I
miss?
said, I don't remember that. You said I may have missed something.
Talk to me. What did you miss?
I was like,
We can,
you said you were in a relationship with someone. I said I didn't want to look at them or something.
yeah. I mean, I can't say their name on the mic.
Because they're probably married now.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, but that wasn't the reason. I told you the reason.
There was many reasons. That wasn't the biggest reason.
Oh, that was not even a thing.
But that was a reason, and it was a fair reason. Like
No, that was not.
I think you
that
guys
was
need
not
to sort
even,
this out now.
That was so not even close to the reason. The reason.
Go ahead.
yes.
The
reason.
Sorry, this is in real time, y'all.
Yes.
We're live. We're live on this.
Yeah.
No, the reason had to do. Well, it had to do with leadership. It didn't have to do with like people on the ground.
That was maybe the primary reason.
Why?
But this was. But we also.
Why?
Well, I mean, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's like,
Nice
wow.
guy.
Well, let's we'll talk about that another day.
Yeah.
We will talk about
what
it.
I don't want to do is say anything negative about.
No.
either.
And it wasn't about. Yeah, it wasn't negativity. Like I'm not denigrating any pastors out here in these streets because of course we appreciate your service. Thank you for your service.
Except for that one in the West End.
But yeah, I wasn't comfortable with the leadership that was there.
Yes.
And them speaking into like what we were building.
Okay. I remember something like that, but I also remember the conversations we had about my ex.
Yeah, I don't remember
and that being a factor. Maybe for you it was one small factor, but when I was thinking, okay, do I insist on us going to my church, which I really wanted to do, because I really did think that they would prepare us better for marriage. I was like, no, I have to let's be realistic. Like she doesn't. I get it. We had that conversation. Maybe for you it was a small thing.
Yeah.
But in my mind, when I was weighing how insistent do I need to be, that was a factor. Tying this back to what we were talking about, if I was to do that over, I would still be as transparent as I was, but I also see what now feels like perhaps one negative impact of that transparency, because it had a ripple effect that added to the negative things that you were feeling about that church situation that influenced our decision as to what church to do and how insistent I was about what we should do, that then influenced what I feel like was our readiness for marriage. And none of these things are like, I'm not blaming that one situation for this, but everything has all these things that they do have what am I trying to say? I'm struggling.
No, you're being clear. I mean, the question had to do with the things that you would, details that you would leave out.
Yeah.
In light of
there can be repercussions to sharing that are complex and nuanced, and like, yeah.
I think that's fair, right? You can be transparent and open, but not necessarily like super detailed, right? Because
what are major things you should disclose? I don't want to be specific to say that you didn't, but if you want to answer that, you can.
Too many to name.
Okay.
Like we had a list.
We're gonna put a list in. We're gonna add a list for you guys.
We'll add a list.
My question is, how do you decide what to disclose versus what not to disclose?
This is the question we're answering.
Yeah. So not just like what do you decide, but like how do you decide? Like how do you approach it? Is there anything that you can say like is a like a deciding factor?
Yeah.
How do you
definitely
can still be transparent and you can still be truthful and honest, but also realizing that, hey, maybe I can't share everything, but I can still share what really needs to be shared.
How do you decide what to share and what not to share?
I think a good litmus test is if you recognize it's still affecting you, and it's still very present in your life in an unhelpful way. I think that is a very good test, or a very good indicator as to what you should share. Like if you're struggling with porn addiction today and you're with somebody, tell them today, because you want to be with them for the long term. They're going to need to know that. If you struggled with porn addiction 18 years ago and you're in recovery and you're 18 years sober, well, tell them you're in recovery. I mean, you don't need to tell them the details of your porn addiction, right? So I think if it's affecting you and your ability to show up in a relationship or to function well in your relationship today, then it is important to tell that person, because they are deciding to be with you from that day or this day until whatever day. I think it's important to share those things.
I agree. I would also add the framework that I try to use for what to share or for most big decisions is what does God say about it as a man of faith? So I look to the Bible for that, or I look to prayer for that. What does my community say about it? People who I trust and love and respect. And what do experts say about it? It could be that I think something that happened 18 years ago is not relevant to right now, but in conversation or in study, it actually should be shared. I take that seriously, and even much more seriously now than I did then.
You spoke of not being aware of certain things about yourself. How did you find them out after marriage? Was that the question?
Or like, how did you get to know yourself better?
How did you get to know yourself better?
Separation was very helpful for that because I didn't want to be divorced or separated.
That's not ideal, though, is it, as the way of finding out?
Agreed. I wish there was another way. So separation, I was more motivated and took radical action to try to learn about myself.
How can someone find those things out without getting separated or divorced?
I have no idea.
Go to therapy.
Oh,
Go to therapy. Go to therapy.
Okay.
Go to therapy.
okay. Go to therapy.
Also lean into community and all that other good stuff.
It's got to be all three from my perspective. You can't just do one. You can pray and read the Bible and think you understand. You can talk to professionals and think you're good or don't have the context that you need. You can talk to your friends and they're encouraging you the wrong way. Like, you can't just use one from my perspective.
Yeah.
But all are highly valuable and are meant to work together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's the point of withholding information if when you get married, it will come out anyway? Like marriage for sure, you're with that person for hours, it's gonna come out. So what's the point of, it's like you're dooming yourself.
Yeah, I don't think when we withhold information that we dream of the day that it's gonna get revealed. You know, I think in the moment we're like too scared to share. I'm probably not the one to talk because I talk too much. Probably should.
Yeah, you think
share too much.
the basic idea is you think that if I told this person this, it's going to cause more harm than good.
Yeah.
And they're never going to find out anyways. So why harm them for no reason? I care about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thought process that a lot of people experience and believe in.
Did either of you do therapy after marriage?
Yes. Before, after, in between, all till now.
Yes, I did therapy. I have mixed feelings about therapy, but some of the best revelations that I've had about myself did come through therapy. So yeah.
There are some very good
There are some
therapists. We
good-
got some in the room. We want to thank Jeff for being our host today. Oh my, he's the truth. He comes with the questions. He goes deep. He does not play, y'all. And thank you so much for your transparency, your honesty, and for always showing up, bruh. Up here.
That's how we do.
How we do. Thank you guys for being here as well. Our studio audience is lit. We love them. If you have questions for us, we will answer them. So go ahead and show us your love, show us your appreciation, drop a comment, drop a question, and we'll be in touch with you. We'll see you next time on Sam and Jen Got Divorced. Woo, woo.
All right. Jeff, amazing job. Yeah, amazing job.
Can I just put on, does their friendship survive this interview?
It will always survive. Yes.